There's one question about Port of Spain that nobody online seems to answer straight. Can you walk out of the cruise terminal on your own into the city without a tour? Yes, you can. Half the forum posts will tell you security turns people back at the gate, and that is not what happens on a normal cruise call. But walking out is the easy part. Knowing where to walk when you need a car instead and which famous Trinidad sites simply don't fit a ship day, that's what decides whether this port works for you. Ships berth alongside at the cruise complex on Wrightson Road on the working edge of downtown. No tendering, no water shuttle, no queuing for a ticket at 7 in the morning. 2 piers take the ships, the terminal has an arrivals hall and some craft stalls, and there's a taxi rank right outside. Because the port is a live commercial facility, you're walked out along a marked pedestrian route rather than across the dock. Follow it, show your ship card on the way back, and that's the whole procedure. Turn left out of the terminal, and you're on flat pavement, 10 to 15 minutes from Independence Square. The paved pedestrian strip running down the middle of it is the Brian Lara Promenade, named after the cricketer, and that's the spine of the city you came to see. Now the part that matters more than the gate. The current American advisory names the places to stay out of, and it is specific: Laventille, Beetham, Sea Lots, Cokerite, the southern end of Charlotte Street, and worth knowing, the open interior of Queen's Park Savannah. It also says avoid downtown after dark, which for a day call is not your problem. Stay on the main streets west of Charlotte Street in daylight, and you are nowhere near any of it. Which brings up the thing everyone is quietly worried about. Trinidad sits at a United States Level 3 advisory, meaning reconsider travel, and the country has been under a nationwide state of emergency since March. Both sound alarming, and both need context. There's no curfew and no restriction on public movement. Ships are calling and sailing on their normal schedules. Murders fell 42% in a single year, from 625 to 361, the largest drop the country has ever recorded. Violent crime is still a serious national problem, and it is concentrated in a handful of neighborhoods, none of which are anywhere near this route. You have 3 calls to make today: city or coast, because Trinidad's best-known sites are not in Port of Spain; walk or ride, because downtown is flat and everything north of it climbs hard; and solo or guided, because here the transport is the difficult part, not the destinations. One thing overrides all 3. Check what day you're in port. Downtown is a working retail and office district, not a tourist quarter. On a weekday morning, it's alive. On a Sunday or a public holiday, expect much of it shuttered and quiet, and build the day around the savannah, the coast, or a booked tour instead. A quick note on tours. Cruise line excursions are easy, but you often pay much more for the same experience. Local tours usually offer smaller groups, better value, and more time at the actual sites instead of waiting in big groups. And the reputable ones know cruise timings and build in a sensible return buffer. Before you get into any car, look at the license plate. A registered taxi carries an AH plate. A P plate is a private car, so treat anyone in one offering rides as exactly that, not a licensed driver. Assume there's no meter, because there won't be. Agree the total price for the car, agree which currency you're paying in, and agree whether that's one-way or a return with waiting time, all before the door closes. Do that, and the system here is easy. Skip it, and you'll have an argument at the other end. Spend your morning on foot downtown. Independence Square is where the city wakes up. Vendors setting out, cocoa and fried dough and diesel all in the same breath of air. An entire working capital getting on with its Tuesday. Walk north and you reach Woodford Square, a shaded little park Trinidadians call the University of Woodford Square, because political speeches have been made from under those trees for 100 years. Standing over it is the Red House, the deep red Parliament building, and there's something under it most cruisers never hear about. During the restoration in 2013, workers uncovered human remains beneath the floor. The dig that followed found people had been using this site since around the year 125, more than 1,000 years of indigenous presence directly under the seat of Trinidad's government. The same building was burned out in the water riots of 1903 and seized by armed men during the attempted coup in 1990. Not many parliaments have that much history stacked on one footprint. Your first real warning here is the heat and the pace. Downtown is loud, hot, and hard-edged by the middle of the day, with very little shade between the squares. People try to walk the whole city and are finished by 11. Do the core on foot early, then get in a car, because the rest of it climbs. Queen's Park Savannah is 1.5 miles north of the terminal, and it rises the whole way. It's a huge open green ring with a road right around it, and along the western edge stand the Magnificent Seven, a row of extravagant colonial mansions thrown up on cocoa money in the early 1900s. A Scottish baronial castle, a German-style folly, a bishop's palace, all in a line facing a cricket field. If you only do one thing today, make it this circuit of the Savannah, because it tells you the whole story of the island's boom years in about 5 minutes through a car window. From the road, you can also pick out a small, walled cemetery on the grass, the Pescier family plot, kept in private hands when the family sold the land to the city. Look at it from the perimeter rather than walking in. The northern side gives you the Royal Botanic Gardens, among the oldest in this hemisphere, and the Emperor Valley Zoo next door. The gardens are the better 20 minutes if you want shade. Down on Frederick Street, there's the National Museum and Art Gallery, which is the sensible move if the heat has beaten you and you want something indoors. Just have your driver confirm it's open on the day, because hours here can be irregular. And for a view instead, Fort George sits high on a ridge to the west, looking out across the Gulf of Paria to the mountains of Venezuela on a clear day. Now the food, and this is where Trinidad genuinely outperforms almost every port in the region. The dish you have to eat is doubles, 2 soft fried flatbreads wrapped around curried chickpeas, sold off carts and roadside stands for a few dollars. There's a way to order it and a way to eat it. You'll be asked slight, medium, or hot, which is how much pepper sauce. Say slight the first time, because the pepper here is not a bluff. Ask for cuchela if you like sharp things, shredded green mango cured with mustard oil and pepper, and eat it standing up, folded in the paper in about 4 bites. Sitting down with a knife and fork marks you out instantly. Beyond that, there's roti, a flatbread wrapped around curried goat, chicken, or chickpeas, and essentially a meal you can hold. There's foluri, corn soup, and there's bacon fried shark in a fried bun loaded from a counter of about 15 sauces and salads. Bacon shark belongs to Maracas Bay over the mountains on the north coast. Which brings you to the real choice of the day and to the error that ruins more Trinidad port days than anything else, which is booking something that cannot physically fit your sailing time. So rank them by what actually fits. Maracas is the iconic half day, a beautiful beach about 40 minutes north over a winding mountain road of hairpins and drop-offs, and not a road to attempt in an unfamiliar rental car with a ship waiting. Gaspery Caves is the underrated one, a boat out to an island off Chaguaramas and a walk down into a lit limestone chamber, and the whole thing runs about 3 hours, which is the most comfortable fit of anything on this list. Central Trinidad gives you culture instead of coast, with a Hindu temple built out into the sea by one man hauling rock by bicycle. Coroni Swamp is the wildlife one, and this is where timing bites. The famous boats that take you in to watch thousands of scarlet ibis come home to roost leave around 4 in the afternoon and don't come back until dusk. If you sail at 6, that's gone. Daytime swamp trips exist, but you won't get the roost. And Pitch Lake and the Asa Wright Rainforest Center are both genuinely worth seeing, and both a long way out, only workable on an unusually long call, and only if you've arranged them ahead. The other thing most people have wrong is sitting out in the eastern suburbs. Angostura bitters were not invented in Trinidad. They were created in a Venezuelan town called Angostura in 1824, and the company only crossed a port of Spain in the 1870s. And there's no Angostura bark in the recipe. Never has been. The name is a place, not an ingredient. The distillery runs tours on weekdays if you want the full version. For a premium day, hire a private car with a driver guide for 4 or 5 hours and build your own route. The Savannah, Fort George, a double stop, and out to Maracas if the clock allows. Agree a flat rate for the car, not per person. For a budget day, walk the downtown core, take a shared route taxi up to the Savannah for a handful of Trinidad dollars, and put the rest into food. On money itself, The official rate runs around 6.75 Trinidad dollars to $1. If someone converts your cash informally, expect the rate to be rounded in their favor. So paying in local currency for small things is simply cheaper. If you're going over the mountains to the north coast, this is the one part of the day where a guided option genuinely earns its money. A local driver knows what that road is doing today, and you are not the one negotiating hairpins against a sailing deadline. The last trap is the return clock, and it's specific. Wrightson Road runs right past the terminal, and it clogs badly in the late afternoon. A drive that took 20 minutes at 9 in the morning can take 50 at 4. If you've gone north to Maracas, leave the beach by 2:30 at the latest and work backwards from your own all-aboard time rather than the distance on the map. Getting back is simple once you're on Wrightson Road because the ship is the tallest thing on the waterfront and you can see it from most of downtown. In through the pedestrian gate, show your card, done. And if you time it right, you'll be up on deck as the light goes soft over the Gulf of Paria and a steel pan starts up somewhere behind you. An instrument born out of resistance after colonial restrictions pushed Trinidadian musicians off traditional drums onto bamboo and finally onto the oil drums nobody else wanted. Thanks for watching. If you want a little help making the day smoother, we've linked our recommended local tours in the description below. And the next cruise port guide is on screen. Click that and let's plan your next stop.